The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello, and let me introduce Fran Wonderful from 603 organization. Fran, how are you doing today with all the things that you want to do for the next election?
Well, we're kicking it off April 13th at our all-day summit and evening dinner. In 2018, we had what we called Initiative 18, excuse me, and we trained over 80 candidates for the New Hampshire House. We had a great percentage of those who won, better than the average that did not go through our program. And we're kicking it off to do the same thing for 2020 Vision for the 2020 cycle. We help recruit candidates, we train them, we mentor them through the whole process, and hopefully we'll get some great candidates. We need people to step up, and if you're fed up with what's going on in Concord, think about running for office. I cannot believe, for example, in Nashua, that there aren't all kind of really great people that could say, you know what, I'm going to run for office. 603 will help them. The GOP will help them. And I hope people are going to be doing that.
Okay, your organization's now been in existence for several years, and you've run this and been successful with a lot of candidates. Can you tell us how that all works?
Well, we started about 4 years ago. This is our 4-year anniversary. We were concerned about, back when we were facing 17 GOP candidates, maybe the Democrats won't take a lesson from us, and we were concerned that with all those candidates, and a number of them were good, strong conservatives, that a moderate or a liberal Republican could come up the middle because the conservative vote was so split. So we were created trying to be of assistance to ensure that a conservative nominee emerged for the president. We held a Iowa-style caucus. We invited all registered voters. We had over 700 people come. It was at Hopkinton Fairgrounds. We had a great day, and we voted and kept narrowing it down until we got to who won it, and that ended up being Senator Ted Cruz, and we endorsed and got behind Senator Cruz. He made it to the next to last man standing, and when he dropped out, then we endorsed then candidate Trump and have been strongly behind him. We've been very pleased that he has attempted to do what he said he was going to do.
Right. He's accomplished quite a bit.
He really has, yes.
I don't know if people really understand that.
They get into the, oh, I don't like him, oh, he's this, he's that, collusion, and they really don't look at what's happened to the economy, what he's trying to do with securing our borders, the regulations that have been reduced under his presidency, which helps all of our businesses.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know, New Hampshire relies a lot on the economy of small business. They have been able to flourish under Trump's administration. And of course, Chris Sununu has followed suit and done as much as he can statewide to improve the economy. And we're just zipping along. Chris Sununu has done a fabulous job.
With the odds against him, with his both houses being in the minority.
Now he's probably going to need carpal tunnel surgery soon because of all of that vetoing he's going to be doing.
Well, I saw him at that meeting last week, earlier this week, I guess it is, that he was saying that, how many things that he's looking forward to vetoing.
You know, I was in the House for 14 years. I was in the House when we were in the majority, the Republicans, and I was in the House when the Democrats were in the majority. And the Democrats were in the majority both in the House and the Senate. And I believe the corner office was Democratic. And while a lot of stuff passed that we didn't particularly like, it wasn't, you know, earth-shattering ridiculous for New Hampshire. This new bunch have gone hog wild, and it's like every liberal idea that anybody's ever had, they're just passing. And because they have strong numbers, they're able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that we have to stop it is
The veto.
Governor Sununu and his veto.
All right. Well, I know I was there with you back in 2010 when we had a supermajority and did a lot of things, but we haven't followed through since then as much to get the majority that we need.
Well, our hands are tied until we change this around in 2020, and that's why it's so critical.
Mm-hmm.
That's why 603 Alliance is going to be very aggressive with recruiting and training candidates.
So tell us a little bit about your meeting this.
The summit on the 23rd, it is going to be so exciting. We have a full day of great speakers. Alfredo Ortez, I don't know if you know who he is.
No, I'm not familiar.
He is the head of Job Creators Network. You know, the people with
yeah.
the billboards at Times Square against AOC, as they call her. We're very excited to hear his message of pro-business. Trevor Loudon, who was from New Zealand. He's now an American citizen. And he writes books about communism, the perils of communism. He's very well known and respected. He's done a number of videos about the subject. We have somebody from Cato Institute coming. We have Jenny Beth Martin, the head of the Tea Party Patriots. This is their 10-year anniversary this year. And she's coming to celebrate their birthday with our anniversary. And our featured speaker at our dinner is James O'Keefe. I'm sure many people know who James is. He does a lot of expose things on voting fraud and the media and how they lie to us and the fake news and so on. And I understand he's going to be making a big announcement at our summit. So that's going to be very interesting to see. We're going to have a lot of local people that'll be there as well. Steve Stepanek, the chairman of the state party, former speaker Bill O'Brien, Anne Marie Banfield talking about education. So the title of it is Liberty Trumps Socialism, with a subtitle of Celebrating American Exceptionalism.
Good.
We don't want to be apologizing for America. We want to be talking about how we are the greatest country on earth and how people have made it that way with their hard work and efforts and their love of freedom.
Freedom and choice, I think, is one of the things that goes together with us.
Exactly.
And everybody on the other side wants everybody to have no choice. They think they know the best way to path to whatever.
Well, yeah, when you think about it, with all this talk about socialism, my gosh, do they really understand? Do they not look at Venezuela and see what's happening there? What happened in Cuba? How these literally places have become third world nations. I mean, Venezuela is one of the richest countries in South America with their oil reserves, and now they're starving. They're eating their cats and dogs. Literally starving. I read somewhere that a dozen eggs goes for like $20 or $30.
Oh, that's kind of crazy.
The food shortage is that bad. That's socialism. And yet these young people say, oh yeah, socialism we think would be a good thing.
They don't know that. They don't see how the money goes there. They don't see the inflation that goes along. I just came back from a trip to Africa. Zambezi, used to be called Rhodesia, went through about 10, 15 years ago. They still had some notes floating around, $50 million notes. That's what people were using to pay for their bread and milk or whatever they got. It was ridiculous.
It certainly is. And the young people, you know, they look at the rich people and say, well, they should pay more. We should have free college. And everybody that had to pay for college should have their college loans forgiven. Well, you know, there's only so much you can take out of somebody before they say, it's not worth working. AOC is talking about a 70% income tax. You 70% income tax, and if you live in a state that has a state income tax, and if you live in a city in a state that has a city income tax,
Yeah.
you're at the point where why work?
Well, that's what's happening in New York, and people are leaving because of all the things that they've done.
People are leaving California.
And we had a 70% income tax way back, I don't know how many years ago. And that,
Pre-Reagan.
Yeah. And that really ruined our economy. Really did. People don't understand that the people who are able to make that money also are some of the biggest philanthropists that make, the buildings for the hospitals, the building for colleges. That's where a lot of their money goes because they're happy to share that. But they should have that choice. They shouldn't have it just taken away from them because all the government does is takes a 20% haircut and then uses it.
Right. And, a lot of people don't really think about it, but I once went to a forum when Jeanne Shaheen was running for the U.S. Senate. And I spoke, and she had been talking about prescription drugs and how they needed to be cheaper, and that the pharmaceutical companies were so evil and so on. And she was just riling up the crowd. So when I got up to speak, I said, I have a question. I said, how many of you have 401k plans with your work? How many of you have that? And practically the whole room, the hands went up, either an IRA or a 401k. And I said, have you ever looked at the mix of the investments that your 401k invests in? And, they kind of sat back and you saw them kind of looking at each other. And I said, well, I can tell you it's heavily invested in pharmaceutical stocks because they pay well. And they pay well because people wouldn't take the chance and buy them if they didn't pay well. And one of the reasons that they pay well is because their expenses are so high that if they don't offer that, people wouldn't buy their stocks. Right. And I said, so you're cutting off your nose to spite your face if you're doing things that are anti-pharmaceutical. Does there need to be some reforms there? Yeah, just like anything. But you can't make them the enemy.
And I don't think they understand, too, that all the fraud that Medicare allows to go on. I don't know if you remember 3 or 4 years ago when 60 Minutes did a special on the money they were feeding fake companies in Florida. I haven't heard anything about that changing again.
You've got Medicare fraud, and then you've got Medicaid fraud. And it really amazes me when I hear the Democrats talking about a Medicare plan for all, that we should do away with private insurance and we should just have Medicare. Well, you're probably on Medicare. I'm on Medicare. My husband's on Medicare. And I have to tell you that there are many things that Medicare does not cover. My husband recently underwent open heart surgery and things did not go well. What was supposed to be 5 days in home ended up being 22 days in ICU, another 10 days in the hospital, and 2.5 months in rehab. And I can tell you, when I look at the bills of what they bill and what Medicare reimbursement is, it is not anywhere sufficient. The whole system would collapse if it had to just rely on Medicare reimbursement.
Right.
Either Medicare would have to raise their prices significantly, which would raise the cost of Medicare, or they'd have to start severely rationing. So when they're talking about a one-payer system like Medicare, they don't really understand what that system really is.
Right. They allow, as I said, the fraud is high. They allow something that none of the businesses would ever even come close to. It's just too much.
You read the horror stories of how many dead people continue to get Social Security.
Right.
Family, especially with direct deposit, just keeps getting directly deposited. You don't notify them that somebody's died, and the funeral home doesn't notify them. It just keeps rolling.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of things that business has to clean up, and I think that's what Trump refers to as the swamp, that they have to really go in and operate more like a business rather than a service, without paying attention to the profitability of or how effective their money is being used.
Right. Well, hopefully he'll keep digging down, and hopefully we'll have a Congress that's elected that has some spine. Some of this new bunch that was elected this term, it's just awful.
You know, I don't know how you feel about this, but all of a sudden I'm looking at term limits. That's one of the problems I think we got. You're right. You got to clean house a little bit.
The only problem I see with term limits, it does take a while to learn how to do things. And what tends to happen then is the bureaucrats are running the Congress and not the people that were elected.
I know, that's why I held up on so much, but you got to change someplace, and you're not going to change the bureaucrats without getting the right people in Congress to change that.
Right.
Because there's no way of firing some people. I mean, it's a lifetime job for the most part.
It is.
Well, tell us about where your meeting's going to be.
The meeting is in Nashua.
Hey.
How convenient for your audience.
Well.
It's at the Courtyard Marriott over at Exit 8
Right.
On the Everett. And it starts at 11 o'clock in the morning. The summit is all day, goes to 4:30. And the cost for the summit is $40 a person.
Okay.
That includes a hot lunch.
Oh. That's
The
nice.
lunch is most of it. Believe me. Lunch is not inexpensive. There's no thing as a free lunch, and then there'll be an hour and a half break, little cocktail hour, and then the dinner. The dinner is $100. So people that don't want to have a $100 dinner, they can come have a $40 lunch.
Okay.
There is a reduced price of $125 if they want to do both. But we're excited about going to the Courtyard Marriott. We've worked with them and been very pleased with the things that they've offered, and are excited to be here in Nashua, even though it's a long drive for me. Registration will begin at 10, so people can head over. We'll have coffee available, and then the full program starts at 11, and the lunch is about 12:30. And it's something that you can drop in, stay for part of. Then if you need to do some errands, you can leave for a little bit. We'll have an agenda together on our website. The website is 603alliance.org.
Okay.
As we add more speakers, we'll be updating the website. Okay. But it looks like we have about 20 speakers during the day. All kinds of issues from...
well, they get their money's worth with that.
They will get, you see some places that put on a dinner, a fundraising dinner, and they go, oh, this is so much work. I'm saying, you should put a lunch and a dinner on and have 20 speakers that you're juggling. And these speakers are coming in from all over the country.
Well, that's good.
We have one gentleman that's flying in from Budapest.
Really?
That's where he was to get here for our event. And so... literally, we've got a well-seasoned group of people that you normally would not be able to see or hear.
Oh, very good.
So we're excited. And,
well, your organization's really moving on all this, and you're going to be doing more as the year goes on. Do you need more volunteers or anything?
We always need volunteers.
Okay.
We definitely need people who are interested in running. We also train activists. If you want to get involved, if you're mad as heck and you don't want to take it anymore, we can help you find a niche of what you can do to help, whether it's phone calling or being somebody that volunteers to go door to door, or to simply host a coffee in your home and invite your neighbors over to meet the local state rep candidates. It really is amazing in New Hampshire, as you well know, because you've served in the legislature as well, that you really do have a voice in your government.
Oh, yeah.
You can call up your local rep, most of them are in the phone book, and you can talk about an issue. And a lot of times they will end up getting involved and help. You're not alone against state government.
Are you doing anything that people who are running for local office in the fall election, are you doing anything for them?
Alderman, mayor, we would help if somebody reached out to us. We could do it, a mini training program
because
for
that's
them.
that's a start for somebody who might want to run for the
It's a feeder, yes.
Right.
It's important. Selectmen and aldermen, that's where, you get your start, get a little bit of name recognition. And so certainly they could reach out to us and we would be more than
And
happy.
it also oils your wheels for the 2020.
This is true. It's going to be here sooner than you know.
Oh, that's right.
We hope to start training right after the new year for, because sign up is in June.
Right.
Well, June is only a year and 2 months away from now. And so and if you want to start training 4, 5, 6 months before, people are going to need to be making a decision. And the other thing is the reps that are currently in office they need to decide and let somebody know early on.
Right.
So you're not recruiting at the last minute because somebody said, I don't think I'm going to run again,
All
2
of a
weeks
sudden,
before the sign up.
Yeah. No, I know it was hard. Actually, this last time they were, in my perspective, I found that people weren't that interested in I couldn't find people who wanted to run, and I couldn't find people who were even interested in talking about it.
I think some people were turned off to the whole system because of all of the negative
That's right.
press.
I agree.
Trump, collusion, he did this, he did that. Others got disillusioned because they wanted to see change, and even though Trump was trying, he was getting roadblocks put up in front of him.
Right.
I think to some degree, the people who turned out to support Trump normally don't turn out, and they stayed home in the last election. So I think it was a combination of those things. And for those that thought things were going pretty well, Trump, the economy was improving, I think they got complacent, and it's like, yeah, we're okay. The economy's getting better, jobs are, flourishing, don't need to worry about it, and then look.
So we got to excite those people again.
How are we going to do that? People. Well, you know what? If Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer
keep on
are
doing
not
it.
exciting them, I say what we need to do is we need to talk about that the Democrats are delusional.
Yeah.
They kept saying, wait till the Mueller report comes out. It's all going to be exposed. We're going to see the lies and the collusion. Mueller report comes out, and there's nothing there. Now they're attacking Mueller.
Oh, yeah.
They're saying that Barr just absolutely lied.
Right.
And I think they're overplaying their hand. I think people are just
I think they are.
fed up.
And what bothers me is that they were looking for connections with the Russians, and they ignored the Clinton connections, paying money for that dossier and the Clinton Foundation and what they were getting for talks over there.
But they want 6 years of Donald Trump's income tax returns, not only his personal, but all his business returns, which, when you run for Congress, you do have to disclose a broad overview of your finances, how many loans you have out, credit you have out, a range of what your net worth is. But nobody asks them, turn over your income tax return. There's no law that says presidential candidates have to turn over their income tax.
It's private. They have to give permission to have somebody look at it.
I think every single congressperson that votes to force the issue, they should have to release theirs for the same period of time. What's good for the goose.
Well, I think you're right. I don't know what the judges are going to do. You can't tell ahead of time which judge. Well, I probably know which judge they want to bring that up with.
That's the only thing that confuses me, Carl. I keep saying to my husband, I said, why doesn't Trump, when they do something, immediately challenge it themselves in a friendly court instead of letting
they choose the
Ninth Circuit in California or whatever it is. But it is kind of ironic. But you'll hear all kind of things about that. Deregulation, the economy, supporting liberty, and learning about how bad socialism is. Just come to the summit.
Well, Nashua is a good place. They need it. I hope we get a good audience of Nashua people, because they have to do something with the city, turning everything over to the Democrats.
I was so disappointed election night when I saw what was happening.
Absolutely. Well, even our Board of Education has only 2 Republicans on, 3 on it. And they come up for election this fall. So it's a little bit hard to believe that they're not going to. I hope we have stronger candidates run for all the things.
Parents need to take more interest in what's going on in their children's school. Too many people just say, "Oh, the school will teach them about sex education. They'll teach them about patriotism. They'll teach them about this." My grandkids tell me that they don't say the pledge anymore.
Yeah.
They actually, in my grandson's school, they have a program where they put Harry Truman on trial for war crimes.
Oh,
every
really?
year because of dropping the bomb.
Oh, no.
And, when I heard about it, I called them up and said,
Yeah.
how can you do this? And what are you going to do if they find him guilty?
Yeah.
Well, and I want to see the curriculum. Well, their response to that was my granddaughter got put on the prosecution. I sent her to school with a letter from President Truman to my mother, thanking her for her service in World War II. She was a Navy wave. And I said, I want you to take your grandfather on your grandfather's side, the Purple Heart,
Right.
from him. He fought at the Battle of the Bulge. And my father fought in the Western, the Pacific. And I said, so if that war had continued,
Right.
you might not be here because they would have continued in war.
Right.
And it ended up saving millions of people. But I'm sure they didn't get that side of it very much. As it turns out, my granddaughter lost because they did not find him guilty in that particular class.
Oh, well, that's good.
But those are the kind of crazy things that are going on in our education system.
Yeah.
But
They don't know how to build up any spirit, and we only do bad things. We don't do good things.
yeah, right.
And they don't realize what they have to live someplace else. I think see the things that go on in some of these other countries. We have some bad things here, but it's nowhere like some of the countries around.
Very true. Very true.
And it gets closer and closer too, unfortunately.
Well, come to the summit.
All right, we got them.
April 13th. It's Palm Sunday, Saturday. Right down the road at the Courtyard Marriott.
Okay.
Starts at 11 and goes to 4:30 if you just do the day portion. And then, of course, the dinner goes to about 9 o'clock.
Okay. Well, we'll see you there, Fran.
Thank you so
very much.
Carl. It's always great to be down here in Nashua.
Thank you.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.